So one of the things, Russell and Julie, mainly Julie, contacted me about this, and it was actually you contacted me about missionaries,
Yes.
and one of the things that got brought up in that discussion was this particular Facebook page, group that Russell started, and this debunking the Christians page, this eisegesis page, and how popular it is, and how much it's grown in a short amount of time, and how it this page is unique to itself, and what it is it's Gentile, it's Noahides reacting within Christians and going back and forth with scriptures and debates and different things. But that's not what the intention of the page was to begin with, was it? Maybe tell us a little bit how this got started, and and how long it's been up and how much it's grown since it's been up.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, uh, Torah observant Gentiles have been engaging with Christians on Facebook for quite a while. There's nothing new about that. And, um, and this is just a natural phenomenon that obviously happens, between the differences between the two faiths. Let me say there's, nothing wrong with either one of the faith. People are where they're at, and they believe what they believe. But some of the issues that we run across with what we call these missionaries, people who are forcing their beliefs on you, they're predatory in coming out after you and saying, we're going to force these people to believe. And one of the most heinous crimes of that type of thinking is to focus that upon the Jewish people who have, their own destiny within Torah, uh, through God, through the God of Israel. And here comes, the Christian believer saying, no, you're going to believe the way we do. We're not particularly worried about your relationship with the God of Israel. You're going to have a relationship with this man God. I don't know of any other better way to put it here. And we're going to connive and to uh, proselytize and to evangelize until you do get it. And they prey upon the weakest. And when I say the weakest, I mean, what is the saying? Those who knew the least believed in Jesus the most, and those who knew the most believed in Jesus the least. So they go into these Jewish communities, Jewish areas, and single out those that know the least and try to influence them to give up their heritage within the Torah and follow their version of belief in God. And I think that's particularly offensive that one person would do that to another person's culture.
So do you
And
believe that
so
missionaries target secular Jews more than they do religious Jews? Is it by purpose they do this? Is it, is that their goal, or do they just seek anybody? What's your opinion?
Absolutely. It's their goal. You can go back as far as the late 1800s and early 1900s, and the New York Times will have articles where they had missionaries updating people in the newspaper about how many Jews they've just converted to Christianity. This is nothing new. It has always been a target to go after Jews. And who's the easier person to trick? Somebody who is trained and knowledgeable in the Torah and in the Talmud, or somebody who isn't? Obviously somebody who isn't, which would be your secular Jew.
Absolutely.
They,
Yeah.
they also like to target Jews who've engaged in intermarriage because they're already open to new ideas and they've already probably had a Christian influence with their partner. And I mean, they've created, like I said, they would have weekly news articles in the New York Times about this. And they even would create cemeteries where they would bury Jews that they converted to Christianity like trophies. So
Hmm.
this has been going on for a while, and to this day in Israel, it is still happening, where they are preying on people who don't really know anything about the Torah, and especially people who don't know anything about the New Testament. They love that the most.
So,
Well,
Russell, did you? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
well, I was just going to add on to that. Early on when we were, because I was definitely in Christianity, but I was trying to figure my way out and start figuring all these things out. So I started engaging into some Jewish things and exploring and studying and looking, and I would go to the Jewish synagogue here, and I would do different things, and I went to one particular group to where of a gentleman I met when I was in Christian radio, and I thought, well, it'd be interesting to go see what he has to say and all this stuff. So I went to one of his gatherings and his meetings, and went in there, and I would hear testimonies of Christians who were coming back from Israel and their conquest on exactly this same thing of how they were targeting people who didn't know,
Mhm.
the Judaism as someone who was born in a religious home, and they would influence them, and they were talking about, their successes and all these things. And what shocked me out of it, and even one of them I recognized from being a member of the Jewish synagogue here. And then I came to realize these people were converts to Judaism who were doing this.
Hmm.
And they were purposely, and I consider maliciously, seeking out, joining a religion in order to pull people and to influence them out of it, uh, and by fully being someone of some other faith. And I think that is so disingenuous, and it's offensive. And so, what do we do as these Torah observant non-Jews who we've come to love Israel, love the Jewish people, and the God of Israel? And so we naturally combat this. It's a natural reaction. So one of the things that when we're on Facebook, we run across these people. We naturally have conflicts with them, and so there's different points of view and different memes and different things that we're always running across. And I would come across something and I go, oh man, that meme I seen over here would work good to explain that, or this person over here that said this would work good with that. So I asked myself, I said, well, let me just create a little page over here, Facebook page, that won't, that it doesn't have to do anything. I'm just going to put all my stuff in that I collect from other uh, Facebook pages or stuff that I write or memes that I make, so I can go and find them easily, because, I'm the only one on there. I'm the only one putting stuff on there, so I can go find it when I need it, and then I can share it from within Facebook to somewhere else on Facebook.
So it's
That
like
was
your
my
cloud storage for memes, is what you're saying.
a quick, easy way for missionary type of memes, to where I can combat them, and when I ran across them, or if I seen something I liked, I could save it to over there, and I would have it. And that's the basis for making the page. But the name come from debunking the Christian eisegesis. Well, obviously I had to name it something,
Right.
and
So this is the
so
original name of the page?
this is the original name of the page that we made. And the idea came from when I was in, the Assembly of God seminary, studying, and which was very eye opening uh, when you're learning, as you're learning the Bible, but you're learning it from the perspective perspective of a denomination. And some of the peculiarities of it would be that the professor would say, this is what it says, but this is how we believe. Now, wait a minute. This is what it says, and this is how we believe. And you better believe it, or you ain't got no business
Believe it
being
according to the way they want you to believe it.
If you had to write a paper, you didn't write a paper on what the Bible said.
It
You
wasn't
wrote
an
the
opinion
paper
piece.
according to how they believe. Yeah.
Right.
And it was peculiar, and I'd run across this, and then I kind of got to where, I would question it. And then we come across one particular subject about eisegesis, about the influence of people adding their own ideas, their own experiences, their own thoughts into a text, as if that wasn't just what I've been learning all along here that they were doing. And
right.
And he said, I remember the professor saying, we don't even consider it. He said, it's we no longer consider eisegesis at all because its influence is too widespread, and we just don't deal with it whatsoever. So don't even think about it. Don't even try to figure out different people's influences and what they did and da 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 da, because we just don't even deal with it, because that eisegesis was so ingrained and so into their text and into the way the Christian thought process believed, that people sitting down and seriously studying the Bible wouldn't even consider it as something to discuss.
Right.
And I found that amazing. And so that is kind of the idea that's always been in the back of my head. And this is 30 years ago, and I'm sitting there going, it still was in the back of my head. And that's when I came up with this idea of just debunking their influence on the scriptures, debunking their way of thinking that they have developed, that's so ingrained that they take it for, absolute truth. And there's not even, it's not even considered something anymore. They don't even consider eisegesis as a thing anymore. So, but when you go and you start debunking it, then they become defensive, and that's one of the dynamics of this page that has become such an anti-missionary type of page. It never was intended to be, per se, but just I think the title alone and the
I'm about to say
idea
the
of it
title,
alone,
yeah.
like, how dare you debunk the way we think about our scriptures, or what we've added into our scriptures, or the way we interpret our scriptures? How dare you try to debunk that? Well, what are you doing with the Jewish people?
Yeah.
You're going into Torah doing that very same thing. So
Right.
that's the foundation and the basis of how it all began.
Well, Julie, I read a lot of your stuff on this page, and you seem to be pretty passionate about what you do, and you're very good at what you do. You're sticking to the scriptures, sticking to the Torah, and engaging people in a way where they have to start they can't just say something. They have to go to the sources. You make them go to the sources. You're very good at it, and you're also an admin on this page. Is that correct?
Yes, I am a co-admin with Russell. He graciously let me participate in that capacity. And I do like to stick to the sources when possible. It's difficult for them to do that because their connection to Christianity is very emotional. And there are times when that needs to be addressed, but most of the time we're sticking to the sources. We're talking about the contradictions in the New Testament, especially when they want to reject the oral law, even though, Yeshua himself uses it. And I'll give examples of that. And I've always provide sources, and I always ask them for sources. That way I try not to let it turn into an argument. Does it turn into an argument sometimes? Absolutely. It's going to happen
Right.
because this is emotional for them.
So what my question is, where does your passion come from doing what you do and engaging these missionaries? And because you seem to be really drawn towards it and you're really good at what you do, bringing out the scriptures and the Torah and engaging people in a way where they have to think. They can't just, they just can't have faith anymore. You can see their wheels turning by their reactions and, and the back and forth between you and other people on the page. But you seem to have a passion to draw people to the word, to the Torah, and make them engage in sources. And you're really good at it. Is this something that you've just been passionate about for a long time, or you've come to, be passionate about it, or did something happen?
I've come to be passionate about it. I'm a product of intermarriage myself, and I was tricked by messy antics. And I mean, said they were Jewish, and growing up in a secular family again, which is what a lot of these missionaries target, I didn't know any better. Not only that, but this might be going back in my family for several generations because my great great grandmother is buried in McPaula Cemetery in New Jersey. And anybody can look that up online, where it says that it was a Jewish cemetery, and this is where missionaries would specifically bury the Jews that they converted to Christianity. But it's not a recognized Jewish graveyard anymore because there's just so many non-Jews buried there as well. So I'll never know if she was converted or not, but that's the problem, is that I'll never know. And if she was Jewish and she was converted, I should be lighting Shabbos candles and doing a mikvah every month, not living the lifestyle I am now. I'm doing the most that I can, you know, as
Right.
a B'nai Noach, but uh, there would just be more that I could do if I was a Jewess, and it ruins families because it literally destroys the continuation of the Jewish people when you do stuff like this. Because let's just hypothetically say that my great great grandmother was not Jewish, okay? Then my grandfather marries a non-Jewish woman, and that makes me, where's his lineage? Where are his descendants? He doesn't have any now.
Right.
That's what this kind of stuff does. And so I'm passionate about that, about people not being tricked. And also, I don't believe that people deserve to live a lie. I want to save the Jewish person and bring them home. But I also want to do that for the non-Jew too, because I think that we're all in this together. I'm really big on unity, and I want to see everybody succeed. And that really drives me more, I think, than anything.
Right. And going back to you, Russell, I know you've been engaged in missionaries since I've met you. When we first coming out of Christianity, I was kind of with you there, but even you knew all the tricks before even really getting into Torah. You knew exactly where they were going to come before they even got there. And you've been really good at steering the conversation in a way that makes people have to think, just like, talking to Julie about, they have to think about what they just said because they're presented with a way of seeing something that they've never seen, or they, like you said, some of them they know and they just don't care. And that may be the case with some people, but not all people on there, because you can actually see if you watch the reactions and the conversation on this group, you can see people slowly tail off. They start off, 100, I got you. And then you, Julie, somebody else on the page will say, well, this is not what Isaiah was saying. This ain't the servant here. You just need to keep reading. It tells you who the servant is. And then all of a sudden, then they leave that conversation. They go to another one. And pretty soon it's just like, well, this is the way I believe. Okay, now we're getting to the truth. You want people to believe like you believe. It has nothing to do with truth. It has to do with your faith. And you want people to have the same faith you have.
It's 100% emotional because we can break down the intellectual mistakes fairly easily. I mean, the Tanakh proves the Tanakh just fine. The Tanakh itself is all you really need to debunk, Yeshu. But this is emotional. They were saved. They were saved. They
Right.
don't have to fear anymore. This is an emotional connection that they have.
They're free of sin. They're free of it all.
Yeah.
You know,
And that
Well, they
concept is not in the Torah. Nobody saves you in the Torah. You do teshuvah.
absolutely.
the problem is the regular Gentile does not see himself in the Torah. He does not believe he's there. The church is going to teach you that you're not there. God didn't care about you until the New Testament. And so there's nothing for them to connect to, which that whole premise is as far from the truth as can be. You know, God has always considered the righteous non-Jew and always made a place for them within his Torah, and they just don't know how to identify themselves with that person, that righteous non-Jew that in the Torah that's called a ger. They can't identify with them. They don't know how to relate to that person, and so they feel left out and abandoned. And so that what's going to happen? They're going to naturally invent themselves a place, and that is exactly what the New Testament is, and why they attached it onto the back of the Tanakh is their invention of their place and to where they belong within this God of Israel, who they do understand to be the one true creator God, only they, add their identity to it. And basically through Christianity, they added, some pagan connections through various pagan religions and practices in order to solidify that identity and bring in other non-Jews. And so their basis was evangelism and to conquer religions with their faith.
So why, I'm gonna. This question is for both of y'all, and we'll just start with Russell. Why do you think Christians are so drawn to this page and to this group? Is it the name, or what would you say? Is it the content
Well, they
that's
have
being
to be. Yeah, it's the content, but what is it about the content? The content is Christianity has to be right. If they're not right, then their God has lied to them. And so they have to be right. And if they can't prove themselves right, then that's a big emotional, like Julie's saying, it's a big emotional problem for them. My God has let me down. I can't explain it. I can't articulate it. So what happens to the person that's arguing with him? Well, the devil's hand, you're handed over to the devil, or, you're blind and you can't see, the obvious truth and all this stuff. And so they make all this stuff to psychologically, benefit their position, when they can't explain something, or when their scriptures contradict one another, or the Tanakh doesn't add up with what they're saying.
I think that they're drawn to the page for all of the reasons Russell said, especially they want to defend their man God. They want to defend their idol because they don't see it that way. They want to save you. They truly believe that they are being saved from a nightmare that they themselves are creating in their own mind. There's an invisible force running after them. There's nothing there. If they turn around, they're going to realize there's nothing there. That in front of them is teshuvah. But they're not placing their focus on teshuvah. They're placing their focus on salvation, and they want to save you. And some of them really do. They really are worried about you. Some of them really think that you're going to go to hell.
Yeah.
And some of them, like I said, they just want to defend Yeshu.
Do you think that a lot of these Christians that y'all engage on this page are missionaries, or just your walk of the mill Christians? Just your everyday Christian church going people? Is it more, or it seems to be just, I don't engage much on it. I keep up with the site, and I definitely watch the conversations that, you and Julie have with people. I think they're very interesting. And to me, I think about it as somebody, I watch these conversations and these debates, and I think to myself, if I'm just coming out of the church, this is really good content, because I might be on, there's a lot of people, there's so many people that's on the border, they got a foot in and a foot out. They don't, well, I don't want to, my family, they're all Christians and they do Christmas, but I don't see God in the New Testament. But, I don't, I'm not learned enough. I don't have enough knowledge and understanding on the subject in the scriptures to lean one way or another. But I know it just doesn't make sense about this man God, and this man can take all the sin wherever they may be. So I'm thinking, from somebody that's in that mindset, that's watching these debates and this content that's on there, it's really good for them. What do y'all think?
I think it is, and I think that the people who have one foot out the door are the silent ones. I think
Right.
that they're the ones that watch
The watchers.
because, right.
Right.
Now, occasionally you will get somebody who fights you toe to toe, and they're fighting themselves. They're not really fighting me. They're not arguing with me. They're arguing with themselves, because now their whole world has just changed. And all of us have been there. I've been there. You guys have been there. That moment when you realize that Yeshua isn't Mashiach. It's not easy, but it's good. It's just different.
It's different.
But yeah, they're fighting themselves.
So do you think it's mainly missionaries that's on this page that come here to try to they're trying to test themselves, see, hey, where am I at and where are these people coming from, so I can debate them?
I think it's a mix. I think it's a mix of people who are just schmoozing Facebook and find us. And I think that some of them are missionaries. I mean, we've had people with their own YouTube channels reference us in their videos. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's they are definitely missionaries out here, and they're coming in, but also there's the zealot, the person that thinks he's well learned and he wants to have a platform to debate his point. And the problem they run into with debating someone that has studied from the Jewish perspective and that understands Torah and the Tanakh from that perspective is they realize pretty quick that they can't argue and engage in it because of the sources that we have, because of the understanding of scripture that we have, and it doesn't fit in with their mythology that they've interjected, and so they don't know they're used to debating either non-Christians or Christians of different denominations that they don't agree with. They've never and they would love nothing more than to debate a Jew, and a Jew won't have anything to do with them. And as far as as we do, and engaging into them as we do, but that's what they want. And when I get tired of debating someone on the page, all I do is tell them that I'm not a Jew, and they give up and go away immediately. It's like, okay, I'm done with this guy. And I say, oh, by the way, I'm not Jewish, so you're wasting all your hate on me, and they won't, and they usually just fade off after
what
that.
Is it about?
Because they want to engage with the Jew, and that's what they're there for.
Why do you think that is? Why the Jew so much?
I was just going to say that they know the importance of Israel. Israel is mentioned all over the Tanakh, and it's even mentioned in their, New Testament, where Yeshu himself says that he comes for the last sheep of Israel. I mean, they know is the importance of Israel, and so I think that's why. But from an opposite perspective, we actually do have a few Jewish people in there who are helping us because and one rabbi has said this is the first time in history they could really actually have these debates without worrying about facing harsh anti-Semitism. There was, in the past, this was not possible. We're in a new era. We're at a new time where we can actually hash this out, Jew and non-Jew, and it just be a debate.
Right. Make somebody's life on the line, or family on the line. Right.
Yeah. They know that Israel is God's chosen people, and they believe that they, through their replacement theology, that God has chose them. And so now they must be right and the Jews must be wrong. And that's why they have to prove themselves right in order to justify their existence as a replacement theology. And so they're going to fight to tooth and nail to prove themselves right. And then when they can't do it, and their emotions run high, and they kind of lose their logical base, and they just cast you over to Satan, or you're blind, or you can't see, or you can't see our perspective. And because they have to uh, be right, or they are totally in the wrong. And if they're not right, they're actually against God.
Well, I'm going to start with Julie on this question. What is, you think, the number one go-to missionary gotcha that you see on the page more than anything, or just through your daily conversations with
Yeah.
people?
Yeah. So, well, of course they love Isaiah 53. It's their kryptonite. They absolutely, every single time they think do you know how many times Isaiah is mentioned in the New Testament? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, they will just go on and on and on. And I just wish we had like an automatic Isaiah 53 disclaimer at the top of the page. Like, we've got so many posts about this. Please do your homework first before you speak. It's gotten to a point where I can literally just go and copy the link to posts that have been so eloquently written, debunking Isaiah 53, and just attach it in the comments.
Now, do you see that the question or the statement they make, are they basically the same thing, just rehashed by a different
Every
person?
single time.
See, that's what I see
The,
too.
yeah, the argument is, who is the servant?
It's like they're reading it from a program, like a checklist. Okay, I'm gonna go here, then I'm gonna go here, and if they don't like this, then I'm gonna go over here. That's what it seems like to me.
Right. And it's like, even if you point out who the servant is, which is Israel, it's not Yeshu. Okay, they're going to circle to a different part of Isaiah. They're just dancing. They're going back and forth, side to side. They're never making a solid point. They're just changing the subject. They never prove themselves. They just change the subject.
They have a talking point. They have their talking points, and they try to manufacture their questions in order to get a specific answer, so they can say, "This is how we got you." The one problem with the Torah observant non-Jew is we don't answer their questions the way they want us to, and it creates havoc for them, because they don't know what to do, because now they don't have a response, and now they can't come back and they can't combat it. So that's usually when the breakdown comes up, no matter what it is that they're using for talking points. It's usually their manufactured little points, and when you give me this answer, I'm going to get you with this right here. And they don't ever get those answers they want from me. They get an answer that they have no idea how to deal with, and that's very frustrating for them. And I think that's one of the things that caused them to come onto the page and see what they can do, and how they can defend their God in this arena.
Well, it seems to me that the Noahide, the Noahide movement in itself, and the people within that, within Noahidism and Ger, is that they don't know what to do with us. Because I mean, if you try to have a talking point with a Jew, if they grew up religious, that's all they know. They don't know anything outside the Torah. They don't pick up a New Testament and study. I'm not saying none of them have or haven't. It's that it doesn't come up. So they don't know anything about the New Testament. Now, when they try to come to a Noahide, most Noahides, not all, but I don't know of any. I've never met one that hasn't come out of a different religion. So most of them, 90% of us here in America, we're all Christians. So we know the scriptures in the New Testament. And when they try to come at us, they're not used to having somebody that, man, these people know the Jewish scriptures as good as they know the New Testament. And then the way we engage them in debate, they're not used to. And you would think that their talking points would evolve over the last 20 years, but they haven't. You know what I mean? Like Tobias Singer, he put out a whole set of I don't, what was the name of the set again? I can't think of it
Let's
right
Get
now.
Biblical, I
Let's Get
believe.
Biblical. And really that hasn't updated. I saw I think you have the newest version at your house. I was looking through it. It's the same thing that was out 15 plus years ago.
20
Because
years ago
because
or
it seems
better.
like the missionaries, they haven't come up with anything new. It's the same thing rehashed over and over again. And when you try to engage somebody that's a Noahide, that hey, we know your scripture just as good as you do, and guess what? We know the Torah a lot better than you do. You know what I mean? So it doesn't. I don't understand why they think coming on a page like that, because like you said, there are some Jewish people on the page that helps out with the debates and stuff, but mainly, wouldn't you say that page they're engaging other Noahites on the page? Christians, it's a. I guess what I'm asking, what do you think the majority is? Christians, Noahides, Jews? Who do you think's on the page?
I think the majority of Christians on.
A majority of Christians.
Yeah, absolutely. And they may be, and they're probably, the page is getting like the last time I looked, maybe 16,000 views within 28 days or whatever, within a month, and there's not that much, that many reactions. So I think there's a lot of people coming in and looking at it, maybe a lot of people seeking and wondering and thinking about their faith, and they're looking at these debates and looking at people's responses, and to try to make up their own mind of what they're doing. And they may never engage in anything. It's like I said, it's only, for the Christians, the zealots will want to engage and try to put their views on and influence people to come and follow their particular way of thinking, which where the B'nai Noach on the page, that we just try to get people to engage in Torah and understand things from from a perspective of Judaism through, basically the living transmission that's been handed down for thousands of years from, teacher to student, and, from Mount Sinai. And basically this um, legacy of Torah knowledge and wisdom, we're trying to get people to connect with that and to understand that and understand who they are as non-Jews within that. And you don't have to convert. You don't have to be Jewish. You don't have to replace them. You don't have to do away with them. All you have to do is find who you are within Torah, and who Hashem, the God of Israel, has meant for you to be within His Torah. You exist in there, and you don't need a New Testament. You don't need to add another testimony onto the end of it. The Torah is complete. It is complete with grace, mercy, salvation, redemption for all men. And all you have to do is understand who you are within that context, and then you can identify with it and have a part in it, connect to Israel, and have have a connection to their share of Torah within that by connecting to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say
Yeah,
that a majority of the people there are, like Russell said, Christian. There's a lot of no-hides there. There's not a whole lot of the Jewish community there. I would love to see more, and I would invite them to come to our page and help us in this mission. But also interesting is that I've seen an increase in Muslims on our page.
why
They're
do you think that
very,
is?
because they also, Yeshu is a part of their belief system too, from what I understand, that they don't believe that he is the Messiah. They believe
But a
he's a
prophet,
prophet. Right.
right?
So as an all three of us worship the God of Abraham. Those of us who believe in Judaism, whether that is as a Jew or a Noahide, and then the Christian and Muslim. So when you have, it's like all the Abrahamic faiths are flocking to this page to try and figure this out, and it's really interesting, actually.
I think these Muslims that are coming in, they're seeing the weakness of the church, and we all know that, the church is basically dying and dying out, and it's not what it was 50 years ago. It's not what it was 100 years ago. And so basically, I believe the Muslims, smell, blood in the water, and they're looking to evangelize themselves and to promote their religion in their way. They could care less about anything else other than promoting their religion, because Muslim in Islam is just an extension of Christianity without the European paganism that was integrated into it. Um, but the idea and the basis of it is still the same, and they still have the same evangelical tendencies to conquer the world and have their guy be the head of it, and as Christianity wants their guy to be ahead of it. And, the Jewish community is waiting for God to choose and send his guy. And so that's what's going on within that dynamic. So they're there to evangelize, make no mistake about it, and they want to get all these Christians who are, trying to figure out that things aren't right in the church and are kind of in between. They want to influence them into their way and to their view of God and their style of worship, which is no different than what the Christians do. Absolutely.
Well, one of the subjects we've talked about in the past, and it kind of goes along with this, and I always think to myself, the Noahide is the best fitted part. A Noahide is in the best position to do anti-missionary work, and the reason I say that is because we really are the Noga. We are the buffer between two worlds. We our daily lives are we're in the secular world. We go to secular jobs. Most of us, not all of us, but the large majority of us do. And we deal with the world a lot more than the Jewish community does. So, for the Jewish community to engage a missionary would be outside of their realm of what they need to accomplish daily. Now if somebody goes and says something, they blaspheme against the Torah, then of course they have to take that on and they have to combat that. But on the daily basis, that's not their job. That's not their purpose. Their purpose is to do the Torah, to keep the Torah. So us being the Noga, that buffer, that surrounding light, that layer in between two worlds, it seems that we are well suited to be in this position to do this kind of work, this anti-missionary work.
Well, I think so. And the interesting thing is 30, 40 years ago, you wouldn't see an anti-missionary rabbi. And now you're seeing more. And of course, probably one of the most acclaimed would be Rabbi Tovia Singer. He's probably one of the most knowledgeable, learned, and effective ones, but there's still many more. And there's many more coming up. And like I said, I think on the page, by us speaking and to Christians in a way from a Torah perspective, it emboldens the Jewish people to do the same. I don't think there's a page we've been on that we haven't influenced the Jewish participation and emboldened them to come out and to confront these people that never would have done that before. And a lot of it's like Julie said, hey, it's, they feel safer to do so from persecution. And Facebook
is it
has
because of
allowed
what
that to
the work that we've done as Noahides, creating that layer of protection? It's like, I can go out into this world now as a Jew, into this Christian world, and engage these people because I have this layer. I'm not going to say it is like a layer of protection, because you have people within that world that are on your side, that act as a buffer, that, like you said, you engage people. There's Jews that engage Christians on there. There's Noahides that engage Christians. And, you Julie said there's some Muslims on there too. I haven't seen it, but you're on there on a daily basis. I can't even keep up with your threads half the time. So I know I don't see everything that you do in every conversation you have, but it seems like do you think it's the Noahide movement that over this last 20, 30 years that has allowed the Jewish community and these rabbis to come out and engage and debate on this level?
Absolutely, because they're not just defending themselves. They have a team now. They have support. They're joining other non-Jews in such an amazing battle of theology, if I can put it that way. You don't ever want to be in a situation where it's Jews versus non-Jews. That's not comfortable for anybody. But when it's non-Jews and Jews working together as a team, I think it does make a difference.
Right. Yeah, I think over the last, and I guess like Russell said, Tovia, he's the one that comes to mind. You know what I mean? And like you said, I'm sure there's other rabbis. I know there's other rabbis that talk about it on a personal level. They'll talk to me or to Russell or probably Julie about it, but you don't see them. There's no really platform where they get up and they, besides Tovia having lectures and having debates, he's the only one that I see doing this. I could be wrong. I'm sure there are other rabbis doing it, just not on the level that he's doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like my rabbi has a playlist where it's called An Orthodox Rabbi Reads the Christian Bible, and he dissects Christianity in a way that is just brilliant. Ariel Bar Sadok. He has, like I said, 9 or 10 videos dedicated to simply reading the Christian Bible and breaking it down.
Absolutely.
But that's a playlist. Tovia Singer, I'm not all entirely too familiar with him. I haven't watched too many of his videos, but it's very clear if you just go to his page that what he's doing is unique. It's unique within Judaism. Like you said, there's not a lot of rabbis doing that. Like, that is his mission.
Yeah. And of course, Bar Sadok has been around much as long, if not longer, than a Rabbi Singer, and starting out as an anti-cult type of person. And I think
that's what I was going to say.
Where he cut his teeth on as far as combating Christians by coming against the cult, so to speak. And so yeah, he's been at it a long time.
Kabbalah. Yeah. That's kind of where he cut his teeth on that. And and I think, and I guess that's what I'm getting to, is that you wouldn't have seen this 20, 30 years ago with these rabbis.
No, you wouldn't.
And now, in fairness, the 20, 30 years ago, you didn't have the platforms that you have today.
Right.
But too, the movement, since Vendel and other people really pushed the Noahide movement forward and kind of accelerated this process, since, you could take it back to the 80s, but really the 90s, the early 90s, and then in the 2000s, it just blew up. You know what I mean? And what I've noticed since, that time, since the early 2000s, that when you engage people, secular, non-religious people out on the street, Jew or non-Jew, what I've come to find out is that Christian is not the ruling majority no more, meaning that they don't automatically go to the Christian scriptures when they talk about God. It seems like they try to talk about, they say, well, I believe there's a creator, and, they're very spiritual about what they believe, where they're not denominational anymore by what they believe. You know what I mean? They believe that there is a God, and they believe that it's the God of the Jewish people. But like Russell said earlier on, that they just don't see they don't see themselves in the Torah, because for one, if they go to a Christian or they raise in a Christian home, they're going to tell them, like Russell said, that you don't have you have a place here, not there. You know what I mean? You got to have this to have your place. And it's so funny, over the last 20, 30 years, especially the last 20 years, it's like a wildfire, is that people don't see the world like that. They don't see God like that no more, where, I'm isolated to a certain well, these books, these gospels are for me. Now they believe, hey, there's a God, he created everybody, and I'm involved in that too. I just don't know how to access the information or what to ask. I know not to ask my Christian friend because I know what I'm going to get over there. There's no
Right.
surprise, there's no shock value anymore in the Christian community. Like, Julie made a good point earlier on. It's the being saved. It does something to you emotionally, because I've been there as a young kid, going to the summer camps and then coming down to the stage and being saved. You feel like it's not that you feel like you're any closer to God, that you're closer to a community. Like now I fit in. Now I'm saved. That, at least that's what I experienced, as a young child, a preteen, going to these events and going down. I don't know if y'all remember, there used to be a powerlifting team, the strongman Christians that go around and put on the show and break boards and tear telephone. I can't remember the name of it, but I remember going as a kid and watching these men, do this, and then, if they will say, well, if you could save, you'll be strong like us. You know what I mean? And then, I went to the stage and, I put my head down and I accepted Jesus and all this and that. But really, I just wanted to be accepted by this certain community. These guys, these strong, guys going up on stage, put on the show. And that's, I wanted to connect at that point. But people they're not like that anymore. They seem to engage in a whole different way when it comes to spirituality.
Right. And that's one of the great things about Debunking the Christian eisegesis, is that there is a page that we can send them to where they can find their place. Because what are they going to do once they realize that Yeshu isn't Mashiach? They need somewhere to go. And so that's when, I sent them over to Shalom 70.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good page.
Yep.
Absolutely. There's a lot of good content on that
Which,
page.
thank you, Russell, for starting these pages, because without these pages, it's like a sifter, if you will. We really are helping a lot of people. They might not come out and say it, but I've gotten a few messages. Thank you so much. I've given up Yeshu, and literally 2 or 3 people. So I mean, it's not a lot, but that saving one person is like saving the world.
So,
But I've gotten many comments like that in Messenger and things like that, and I've learned, and some of the most humbling is, I've learned so much from you, and it's like, I'm just arguing with this guy, and I don't realize how much people are learning from those interactions, and so it's important what we do, and because there's a lot of people out there that are looking and that are trying to figure out where they are and who they are, and they never realized that the Torah has a place for the non-Jew, and it doesn't require believing that a man is God.
Right.
So let me ask. This is a question for both y'all, and I'll start with Julie, and Russell, you can follow up. If somebody was to come to you and say, "Okay, I understand what you're saying, that maybe Christianity is not right. Maybe Jesus is not the Messiah, but I still don't see myself in the Torah." Where would you send them to look to find them in the Torah? What would be your go-to for that individual?
For me, it would be Bereshit. I would send them to Genesis. I would, Vendel Jones said in a video that I will find for you that the Noahide laws are in the first 11 chapters of Genesis, and that's where I would send them, right at the beginning.
Definitely with Noah, and Noah found grace in the eyes of Shem, and Noah was not a Jewish person, and he was a righteous man, and you don't have to believe these New Testament touters that say that your righteousness is as filthy rags, and that you can't be righteous and you can't obtain righteousness and all this stuff, when it was obtainable for Noah, and it was obtainable for many other people. And so that identity of this non-Jewish person who was righteous, can be identified through Noah, or you can actually go into Deuteronomy in 14:21, where it talks about the ger and the gate. And who is this person? He's not a convert because he can eat the nevela that is given to him by the Jewish people to sustain him as a gift, but yet he's not that makes him not a convert, but yet he's this ger in the gate. This is someone who has attached himself to Israel, who is not a convert and who is, not Jewish, and yet he has sustained from Israel and has shares in the blessings that Israel receives and the protection that Israel receives, and in the whole experience with the Jewish people by this ger in the gate. So the ger in the gate is probably one of the most unique individuals in the entire Torah because of this, because it really identifies who he is and what he's about. And I don't know if we got it here. This book here that's, Chaim Chlorfine. I don't know if it's probably backward, Blessed Memory now, who wrote this book, and he wrote it with the idea of the ger in the gate.
A true light to the nations. He was, absolutely.
Yeah. And so this is very important. It's a very important book that identifies that person. And so if you're a non-Jew and you're saying, where am I in the Torah? What can I do? What is my identity? This book right here, The World of the Ger, will identify that and its sources and its scripture and everything that you need within that book on Amazon. So
and the Path of the Righteous Gentile,
I just ordered that one.
Yes, it was a good
with
one.
With the dove on the front. Yep.
That's
it. Path of the Righteous Gentile by Chaim Chlorfine as well.
While you're holding that book up, Chaim told a story about the cover of that book. And he said, I said, because we were talking about the dove, he said, well, you know how we got that picture? He said that him and a buddy were out. Were they at the, I want to get it right.
That was Gil, that buddy was Gil Locks.
Gil Locks. Right.
Gutman Locks. They shouldn't be calling him Gil. But Gutman Locks, as we see a lot of his videos.
Right. He's really good. But he said they were out, just in I don't know if they were in a park, I would say, but I don't know if that's exactly. I got the story on a podcast, but he said, well, they wanted a picture of a bird, but a pigeon just kind of sitting there. He said, well, I really need to get a picture of the bird with his wings spread. So his buddy ran over there and scared him, and he said, take the picture. So they were stirring the birds up. So so that bird was a frightened bird. That was a picture was taken from them chasing the pigeons to get the perfect book cover. So it's pretty interesting.
He got it though. He got the perfect photo.
He did. He got the perfect photo. So
yeah.
So those are two very important books on finding your identity as a non-Jew in the Torah and within the Tanakh, and that's a great place to start. In matter of fact, you're not doing yourself justice if you don't explore those two books, at least for whatever reason. Yeah.
And that wasn't the first book. The first book I actually read about it was this one.
Oh yeah, that's a good book. True. Yeah, Bar Sadok. Yeah.
Because and you need both. You need both. Rabbi Chaim Chlorfine's book, and you need this one because they cover different things. Like this is more about the big picture, right? Like the all-encompassing.
So much more.
Right. But they all have something different and unique to offer. So like I couldn't just own this. I need the other one too. And I couldn't just own the other one. I need this one. Because seriously, you're going to pull so much from each rabbi. And it's important to really have that collection.
Absolutely. And see a lot of these people that are coming out of Christianity that's going to this page, this debunking page, they don't know what book to buy. Nobody's
They
told them,
don't.
hey, you ought to read this. And, and then they read the scriptures, they read the Torah. And like they said, I just don't see myself in it because nobody's
Right.
shown them, they've never had access to this information. So, I think it's really good that y'all pointed out, these books and these
Right.
different authors that wrote these books.
And you know what? Who helped me with all of that was Russell. So if he tells you that this is a good book, it's probably a really good book.
Yeah. He's got a couple of books, but, not, I don't know how many, but I'm sure he does.
Mm-hmm.
But but the thing about it is, and that's the whole trick of it, is finding these rabbis that have wrote this stuff down and shared their wisdom and their knowledge. Bart Zadok,
For the
that
nations,
book right there.
for the the non-Jew.
I can take credit for going to Rabbi Bart Zadok and asking him to please print that book, please.
Yeah.
We need it out there. And of course, he went back through it, updated it with his years and years of knowledge and wisdom, brought that book out. I think it's one of the greatest books ever wrote for the non-Jewish person who believes in the God of Israel. It's that important to have
And I
that
guarantee
book.
you ain't got a copy right now at your house because every time you get a copy, it goes right out. I bet you ain't.
I give a
You
lot of
away
books
every time.
I give a lot of books away.
Rabbi Sadok, excuse my dog's barking in the back, but as he would
you're
tell
good.
you, there's no such thing as distractions.
Right. Yeah, no, he's right. He's right. And I think and a good point you are making, both of those authors are Jewish men who wrote these books for people that are coming to the Torah, that are trying to find their place in the Torah. So I think people need to understand, or if they haven't heard, there are rabbis that are there to guide you to find your place within Torah that will take you there. Like you said, y'all named 3 books in less than 2 minutes. And there's countless other books that are really good books. Vendel has books. Everybody has books and lectures on YouTube that, like you said, Barstow, he's got tons of content on his YouTube page that are just for, non-Jews, for Noahides and Gers and whatever you may call yourself. But there are rabbis there to guide you through and define your place within Torah.
I actually have Vendel's book right here, which is I don't know if you guys can see that or if it's too glossy.
No, that's good. Will the
real Jesus please stand up? And what I was trying to find was he poses the conundrum for the Christian discovering who, that Yeshua is not Mashiach. And there he quotes it so beautifully. Basically, he says the Christian, on the other hand, also has a certain ghostly haunting in his mind as to why the Jew does not see why the Jew does not see in Jesus the same image he himself sees. If anyone should know what a Messiah should be, certainly the people who prophesied and produced that Messiah and wrote all the books in the Christian Bible should. The fact that the Jew does not accept Jesus as the Gentile does is in itself a haunting thought to the Christian. And that really struck me because there is something deep down in the subconscious of the the non-Jewish person. Why don't the Jews accept Jesus? It's back there and it's haunting in their mind because he's right. The Jewish people are the ones that these prophecies came from them.
Through them.
So there's a reason that they are rejecting Yeshua. And Vendel just put it so eloquently in a way that I couldn't.
So do you think that's why missionaries go after the Jewish people the way they do, is to vindicate themselves? Because they in the recesses of their soul and in their heart, they know something's not right. I mean, these, like you said, he said it right there, the Jews don't accept him as Messiah. And y'all are the prophets. Y'all are God's chosen people, and y'all don't accept him. They just cannot wrap their mind around that. So it seems like, well, the more Jews we get on our side, then the truer it makes it. because without them, it doesn't hold up.
That's right. That's
Nothing
exactly
holds up.
right.
That's why they put their book on the back of the Jewish scriptures. It can't stand alone. It would be nothing if it was that. Now, once they took that idea and basically twisted the meaning within the Tanakh and used it and attached it to it, then they're able to have something. They would have nothing. So if they have one Jew or two Jews that has been influenced away from their heritage and away from the will of the God of Israel to join them, they will parade them around and say, "Oh, look, we've got Jews coming to us, from all over, and this and this and this." And I can definitely remember some of these conversations with the Jehovah Witnesses and how they're so proud of the fact that they have Jewish members that they've probably just joined them just to quit getting door knocked on or pamphlets left or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just encourage anybody watching this, if you're a missionary, to come and check out our page. Come and talk to us.
No, I just go along with Julie and invite everybody in there. You can be a missionary. You can be somebody that may not be affiliated with any particular belief, and and come and just seek out things that were that you may not have ever heard before, and keep an open mind and not follow the simple trends of tradition, but as I've told many people, to seek out God and to find out how He wanted to be worshipped, not how you want
God
to
wanted
worship
to be
Him.
worshipped. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.